What's up, everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to another kind of official track gameplay here on the channel. I am doing a special one today. I feel like Anaheim 1 is a big enough race that I can kind of dedicate one whole extra thing to talking about the race and all that, because I did like a pre-race discussion. Now I want to do a post-race discussion, and it kind of worked out good anyway, because a guy by the name of J. Andrew released a 1-to-1 scale version of this track, and got all of us kind of more excited to see how graphically impressive this game can be. And you know, I'll talk about that a little bit at the beginning, and then obviously break down into the real life stuff. But the key thing about this track that, like, you know, everybody talks about, and in its relation to sim and realism, is this is a 1-to-1 scale track. And while it does work, there just is so many glaring things wrong with the game itself that make it so 1-to-1 can't work. Like, the bikes themselves in game are a little bit too fast. The dirt really doesn't hold you back, and like James or Jay, whichever way you want to call him, with this track tried to make a dirt that was like stickier to hold you back, but that adds like an unrealistic element, because like I just charged into turn 1 and braked before I was like halfway into the corner when I started braking, and it stops you instantly, which obviously doesn't happen in real life, especially when you're coming down a straightaway in 4th gear. So like that just kind of can't work like that. Like, it has to have some sort of actual roll to it, which this doesn't. Like, you can just pretty much hit the brakes from wide open and come to a complete stop in like half a second. And then otherwise, like, I just don't feel like the rider movements and the way that you can control the bike work very well on 1-to-1. And what I've played of this track so far, I feel like he did an okay enough job to kind of separate the jumps and everything to make it flow, but it still is just, it's just not perfect for this game. And that's why Race Factory Gaming tracks, or now MXS EMF tracks, are scaled up to, I believe, 1 by 1.2 or 1.25, or they may even be bigger than that. And they do that just so that it allows more room for racing, it allows more room for mistakes. Like, you know, on this type of track, you almost could not race comfortably with other people around you, because it's so tight and so narrow that you would just barge into each other all the time. And like, I don't know, I just feel like there's too many things that are kind of more or less wrong with 1-to-1 that are right, that makes it why you won't ever see it in organized racing in this game. Just for fun and riding around, sure, it's good fun, because like in single player I don't have to worry about riders around me and stuff like that. And also another thing is I don't have a road on, so there's that too. But you know, it just a couple things I feel like that are kind of a glaring difference with it. Anyway, graphically, Jay always does a great job with things. He used to be part of the Race Factory Gaming track crew, but just some things happened there, and he's really talented. But the thing that MXS kind of lacks in, that I don't think he can ever really make up for, is this is almost impossible to load into this track smoothly without having to lower a lot of different things about the setups in your game. Like, I tried to load in at full resolution and immediately crashed my game, and the file size itself is over a gigabyte to download, which is ridiculous. It's a massive file size. So like, it's just, to make a track look this good in sim is just, it requires too good of a computer, etc., etc. And you know, once it is like this, I feel like it looks great. And obviously, if you're watching this video, you're probably thinking, why don't they do this for the tracks that they replicate, and da 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 da. I mean, it's just, it won't happen, because it's too hard on every computer. And you know, they're trying to make tracks for everybody to be able to play, not just for 3 guys with $5,000 to play, you know. So I mean, you know, this is a cool project. It's kind of like that Nicholas Sandbox MX thing, like, where it's really cool to play, it's really cool to see, but it's just a little bit too hard on everybody's computers for it to be just like a normal MX simulator thing. So you know, that's just kind of my spiel about this track. You can make your own opinions of it yourself by downloading it and trying it, but I'm telling you, if you don't have a really good computer, it's going to be pretty hard to actually play. It'll probably lag, it'll run you out of virtual memory, a couple things like that. But enough about this track. Let's talk about some real life A1. I was there in real life and had a blast. I feel like all the racing was pretty good. Obviously, it was more of a condensed schedule now with no semis, so instead of having that would be 4, 6, 8, 10 races, it was down back to 8 races because they eliminate 2 of the semis. And it finished early, which, you know, was nice. But it also seemed like it made a couple more unnecessary like gaps, like where we were just sitting around, nobody was on the gate, nobody was doing anything. So there's that, but now generally speaking, it was a good time. The racing was really good, like I said, and yeah, let's break down some of these races, huh? So the 450 main, which is what I'm going to start with. I always save the 250s for last, just because if you're done watching me by the end of the 450 stuff, then that's your prerogative. 450 main, I mean, what more can be said? Like, spoiler alert for one if you haven't watched it, but like how many more times are we going to just see these like sort of mental breakdown? I don't even know what you call it. I called it a mental lapse, but I mean, that's what it was. Like, yes, he broke traction, but like Eli Tomac just seems to do these weird little small things that are like the dumbest crashes ever, and he doesn't get hurt from them, but something breaks on the bike, or in his case last night, I mean, he did actually get hurt last night, but I'm not too sure. I'm sure a PR will already be out by the time this video comes out, but I'm not too sure if he's actually going to be out because of it, but he got a shoulder contusion. Anyway, I mean, that's just like the dumbest crash ever. Like, he was comfortably out front, all alone, pulling away from Barsha. Nobody was going to touch him. Like, he was in his own little dimension. And just, yeah, lost a little bit of traction on that double coming out of the first corner. The thing that kind of bothers me about modern racing, too, is that a little blip like that, I feel like, especially when guys weren't scrubbing and trying to pump things so much, I feel like he would have just been able to soak the bike in and case that first double really hard and maybe even tip over or something. But instead, it turns into he augers in, he goes over the bars, he breaks his pants, he mashes up the bars a little bit. Like, you know, in the old days where they weren't trying so hard to stay low on everything and find like the perfect spot to land and everything, he was so far over the front of the bike trying to soak up that first jump that he just had no chance. Like, the second he was spun the front tire, or I'm sorry, the rear tire just a little bit, it was over. Like, there wasn't anything different he could have done right there to save it, and that's just because of the positioning he was in. He was so far over the front of the bike to try to soak up those jumps that all it just meant was he didn't get enough traction, he's going over the bars, period. So, I mean, you know, but whatever, it's just like another little mental mistake, like just trying something that he didn't need to. He just needed to kind of ride smooth. He was pulling away from Barsha anyway, so he could have just settled in and tried to find a pace that was similarly even and been totally fine. But no, just wham, mental lapse down on the ground. And I mean, like I said, he was gone. Like, I picked Marvin Musquin to win the main event before the night show, and then like watching the heat races, I changed my mind. I was like, you can't beat Tomac tonight. He's too comfortable on this track. The whoops haven't broke down enough, and I still don't feel like they really broke down enough to help Marvin. I just think that Anderson got a bad enough start not to get to him. I think Anderson was going faster than him, especially later in the race, but he just didn't have enough time, and Marvin just got through the field a little bit better earlier on. And I mean, that whole start went completely backwards than what I thought. I would have thought it would have been like maybe even a rocks and hole shot with Marvin and probably Barsha or somebody else up there. But instead, no, Tomac rips the whole shot. Kenny got a good start, but he got pushed wide, and then he ended up like 12th. So, I mean, it was a complete shuffle, and then Tomac went down and it shuffled everything up a little bit more. And I mean, we have to talk about Justin Barsha, right? I mean, where in the hell did that come from? Granted, I didn't go to press day, I didn't watch him ride or anything like that, but everything I heard about him preseason, press day, even a little bit in practice, in free practice, first of all, was he didn't look comfortable. Like, he just looked like he was off the pace, couldn't find the flow on the bike, all of this stuff. And then he comes out in the second practice, in the first qualifying practice, and lays down 5th fastest time. And I was kind of shocked by that. I was kind of like, man, like, everybody's talking about how, you know, the 6 race deal was a fluke, he's not gonna last, and, you know, Yamaha was dumb to try to pick him up again, and la 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 la. I was like, man, 5th fastest qualifier, he's proven he's actually going to be kind of decent for these guys. And then the next session, he goes to the top of the board, and I'm like, what in the hell is happening? What alternate universe are we in that Justin Barcia is comfortable and fast in Supercross on a Yamaha? But yeah, he was top of the board for a while and just barely got tipped at the very end by Roczen, which again was very impressive. You know, Roczen coming back from that devastating arm injury, I really didn't expect him to be, you know, right there that quickly. I guess I figured he would be fast, but I don't know. Fastest qualifier, I didn't have him pegged for it, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, Barcia, and just I was so blown away. And then in the heat race, he backs it up. He comes out, and, you know, granted there was all sorts of chaos, but still he just got into the lead, kind of cruised his own pace, didn't have to worry about anybody coming from behind. He was in the race with Marvin and Roczen, so it's not like he had no competition, and those guys just flat out weren't going to catch him. He was just riding too smooth and comfortable at the front. And then yeah, when Tomac goes down, Barcia was the immediate beneficiary. Bumps into the lead. For a little while he was going fast enough that Marvin wasn't going to catch him, and then it seemed like he kind of hit a stone wall a little bit, faded back into Marvin's clutches. I thought the second Marvin passed him, especially before the whoops, that Barcia was going to come back down the inside and light him up, but that didn't happen. And then Anderson got to him, passed him, and then Barcia seemed to like kind of regroup, go after Anderson a little bit again, and it seemed like by the time Roczen got into 4th from his bad start, it was a little bit too late. But talking about Roczen anyway, I was very, very impressed with his approach to the beginning of that race, because, I mean, looking at it from an outsider standpoint, you know, he's had this huge injury. They keep talking about he could have lost his arm. He still has it kind of like not exactly where he should have it or where he wants it to be. He wears a wrist brace. I mean, Cooper Webb almost took him out in the heat race, and just imagine if he had fallen and smashed his arm into the ground then. Like, he would have fallen on his left side because Webb was on his left side trying to make the pass, and I mean, I feel like he's still pretty fragile there. I would imagine if he just takes one good hit, it might refracture a lot of the same stuff he's been getting fixed. So he was very smart. He started in about 12th. He was very meticulous. I think even Bowers like passed him back a couple times, and I was like, you know, he didn't look comfortable, but he was just trying to not put himself in precarious positions, it seemed, and get taken out or do something silly. Like, he's in it for the long haul, obviously, and he just sat back, let the race come to him. Before you knew it, he was in 4th, and for a while I thought maybe he's going to catch Barcia, and it didn't happen. But like, I still feel like that's got to be like a really good win / confidence boost for him to know that even when he doesn't feel comfortable and when he's got a bad start, he can still just ride through the field and get into the top 5 no problem. And that's going to help him, I feel like, a lot championship wise as it goes on. And at this point I feel like he's going to win races. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So I was impressed with him. You know, Barcia ending up on the podium, I think, was definitely my biggest surprise of the night. But like I said, I think I had at least Marvin to be 1st or 2nd, and it just depended on what would happen with Eli. And if Eli made a mistake or wasn't good in the whoops or whatever, then Marvin was going to win, and that's exactly what happened. So, but, you know, I guess I was a little bit wrong, because I really just didn't think Eli would have that large of like a mental implosion. He didn't even finish the race, which, you know, I guess if he's got a shoulder injury potentially, that kind of makes sense. But some people are still saying like, that's how you lose championships. You should have tried to finish, get some points, etc. But yeah, what a crazy first round. Like, never seems to disappoint, does Anaheim 1, and this year was no different. It was wild. And then yeah, 250 class, I mean, I talked about it in my video a couple days ago. Like, I had no real idea what to expect, and I feel like I almost hit the nail on the head with believing that AC and Savacci were going to be the guys. Like, they both qualified right at the top. Justin Hill tipped them at the end, but I just had a feeling that he wasn't going to get good starts, and that those guys would just get up front and start battling with each other maybe and pull away. But good golly, gosh, McElrath came out of, like, not really even came out of nowhere because he won this race last year, but like, he wasn't top qualifier, he wasn't really like in the mix, and then his heat race, he got a whole shot, pulled away, comfortable, and then like was getting caught at the end, but still wasn't really under any sort of pressure, won his heat, and rips a whole shot in the main and is gone. Like, I mean, he went full sprint. Like, Plessinger got in a second on like the 3rd lap, and McElrath already had like a 5-second lead and then continued to extend it. So, I mean, he just looked above everybody else in that main event. There's no other way to put it. Like, I think even if AC and Plessinger and Savacci and all those guys had started with him, he still would have been gone. Maybe if Hill had got the whole shot, I think it may have been a little different, because Hill seemed like he was fired up when he was battling with like the front runners, but as soon as he got stuck in the mid pack, he was kind of toned down a little bit. So, but yeah, man, McElrath again, Anaheim 1 winner. Like, I think he's definitely a title threat for sure. I guess we'll have to see what happens like down the stretch, because that was his kryptonite last year. It seemed was a lot of mistakes down the stretch, but yeah, he looked really good, and I was impressed. But you know, AP, I was also impressed holding off Cianciarulo, because I thought AC would be the fastest guy on the track in the main event. Ooh, Nelly. But he wasn't, so, you know, there's that, and it's just, yeah, all across the board, I was just really kind of shocked by the way that race went down. My fantasy team seemed to do pretty good. I haven't really seen any results from it, but looked like that was pretty good, and yeah, crazy night of racing. Anaheim 1, always is, right? So yeah, I guess this coming week I'm gonna do another video on the Houston track, where I will highlight my opinions, thoughts, and picks for the next coming race. But I just wanted to do kind of like a synopsis, a recap of Anaheim 1. I'd also love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. You can also definitely try out this track. Just be careful, it's very computer intensive, so if you don't have like a really good computer, it might be harsh for you. But yeah, Anaheim 1, good fun. I was really happy that I was able to make it again this year, and yeah, on to Houston, I guess. So if you guys like this video, again, please be sure to download the track in the description below, but also like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts on Anaheim 1 and everything as a whole. But for Kellen here on Star Systems, I hope to see you guys in our next video. So long for now.